Hello, everyone. I am Chris Parrish. I'm alongside Ed Fries, who is making his very first show and outing with Love Wrestling under the banner. Not a Quizplex related, not as a guest, but actually as a partner. Ed, not only welcome, but glad you can make it.
Thank you guys for having me. It's going to be interesting. I'm very excited to do this, and with you, we had a nice long chat the other night, so I'm very excited for this.
Yes, if there's one thing that I actually can do, it's talk, even though sometimes you may not actually get to see it alongside Spencer. And that is only a joke ever. But but first, I want to say thank you to RK Athletics for being our sponsor. They do amazing work. I personally know Rich very well. That guy is an absolute machine when it comes to the fitness world. And if you want to get an absolute change in your lifestyle, just get a little bit more, active, or get buff or whatever, go to RK Athletics, because Rich will be there. He'll take great care of you, and he'll do the job because, well, let's face it, he knows exactly what we're talking about. He might actually have one of the best bodies in Alberta wrestling. And then we also are doing a little bit of a nice thing this month. We are doing the Trevor Project. I'm just trying to find all of the links right now. But yeah, if you want to go to, I believe it's donate.tiltify.com /@lovewrestling/Trevor Project. Please go and donate if you can. That would be absolutely fantastic. There it is right now. I have figured it out because I am not slow. So, and then if you want to also make sure, I know you're watching us at twitch.tv/@lovewrestlingca. You can also watch us at youtube.com/lovewrestlingca. And if you can, go to ratethispodcast.com/lovewrestlingca, because, well, we got to get better, and we need people to let us know we're getting better and help spread the word, because without you, we don't exist. So, And then one last one before we go. If you want any merchandise, please go to lovewrestling.ca/shop, where you can get the beautiful Love Wrestling shirts, mugs, masks, stickers, more stuff to come. But yes, right now, Ed, we're here to talk Smackdown.
Thank you
for your witness. Hopefully I got everything in. What did you think of tonight's show?
I thought it was another really good Smackdown. Smackdown has this consistent feeling of being able to take a bunch of stories, give them time, even though they have less time than Raw, but still feel like you're getting enough of what you need and making everything feel important.
Yeah, the one thing I love about Smackdown is that they hammer down the point, and they do it in a way that's a really great way of storytelling. And then with that, they leave you wanting a little bit more, which is exactly what I always want out of pro wrestling. I don't want them to give me everything I want, even on the big shows like a WrestleMania. There's still times when I want to know what happens the night after WrestleMania, and that's what makes it so special. Especially with tonight's SmackDown being a go-home show to Hell in a Cell this Sunday. It's just absolutely amazing that even though they had a Hell in a Cell match between Rey Mysterio and Roman Reigns, there's still a lot of questions to be asked, and there's still a lot to look forward to. Ed, before we start with thing, what stood out to you about tonight's show that you personally enjoyed? And what was it about tonight's show that makes you want to actually tune into Hell in a Cell?
So my favorite thing about the show is Rick Boogs, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Baron Corbin. I know some people don't like it. I know some people think it's a weird story. I love it. I love these two guys. Nakamura and Corbin are fantastic. This story, Rick Boogs is just getting his feet wet in just the right way, like an Elias style, and eventually he's going to get in the ring too. With the crowning of Nakamura as the new King Nakamura, it's going to be fun going forward. And yeah, it doesn't have any Hell in the Cell implications, but they did a lot of revamp, knowing that they were going to put on the Hell in the Cell main event on tonight's show. They still reworked it in a way that Hell in the Cell card still feels big, still feels important, and there's still a lot of really good matches, including 2 brand new matches that just got added tonight.
Yeah, with that going, like the one thing that really stood out to me, and I like to focus on this, but it's the tag teams. I thought the Alpha Academy stood out amazing tonight, and I thought they took a real big step, just as solidifying themselves as a main player in the tag team division. But with that, we go to one half of the current reigning WWE SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Rey Mysterio, who opened tonight's show with a promo basically saying like what Roman did to his son Dominic last night just absolutely hurt him in ways that only a father can know. He still is haunted by the sound of Dominic hitting the floor from the power bomb when Roman threw him over. And it just brought a different light to me that Rey didn't speak from a revenge standpoint necessarily. He talked from a concerned father. What I loved about this is Rey, to me, is the greatest luchador and the greatest high flyer ever in pro wrestling. And one of the things he also does, I think, better than anybody is he's able to take you on that emotional roller coaster and constantly always get sympathy from the crowd. And tonight, just as the father of Dominic Mysterio, he was able to get that out of you once again. Before I turn to you, I just want to say, what did you think about not only this promo, but Rey Mysterio in 2021? Because I think he's doing some of the best work that he's ever done.
It's unbelievable that I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, everybody thought Rey's knees were completely shot and that he was calling it quits and he was on his last legs. And now we're all these years later and he's in a prominent storyline in the main event of SmackDown against the biggest star in WWE, possibly all of wrestling right now, with Roman Reigns. Mm-hmm. And he's telling a compelling story about a father's love of his son who got attacked on Father's Day weekend. It's just the ultimate story. I'm kind of disappointed that they, with this father storyline, that they didn't take this further and have the match happen on Father's Day inside Hell in the Cell. I'm a little surprised, but if they felt like they needed the boost in the ratings, I understand why you do it. And if you're going to rework the card because Roman might not want to work on Sunday, I can understand it there too. But it's such a great promo, and Rey is just fantastic at still, all these years later, being the babyface that literally makes you feel what he feels. It's real. Even his promo was a little bit cliche at points. He still made it feel like it was true to his heart and what he felt.
Yeah, and I think in pro wrestling, one of the things that if you can't hit it in this era, like if you can't execute it and deliver it, even the audience is going to be questioning it. They're going to be maybe bored from it, or they're just not invested. Maybe that's probably the right word, invested in what you're doing. Rey Mysterio always knows how to get your heart invested in every little thing he does. And I think that is just something that it's an untapped skill set, perhaps, because I don't think everyone in pro wrestling knows how to do it. And he just instantly knows how to do it. It's like when Shawn Michaels just knows how to sell a move and make it look just epically amazing. Rey Mysterio knows how to do that in the emotional investment aspect. Unbelievable. Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, they do come out and kind of interrupt him, saying like, I really don't want to hurt you, but like I try to do it in your way. You kind of made me do this almost. And then it's like, you're going to realize that you never wanted to have this when it's all said and done. And I just thought Roman is just taking it to a completely different angle, and that everything you do, if you don't acknowledge him and you don't let him be, he takes it as a slight. He takes it as a form of disrespect. And I just think that is such an amazing mindset for Roman Reigns. And I think that's one of the reasons why his heel work is just second to none right now.
Absolutely. And the thing that I get with Roman Reigns is He's telling Ray, he's like, look, Ray, we don't have to do this. Like, I get that you're hurt. I get that you're in pain, but don't make it worse for yourself. Just walk away. Let us be done with this. This is a 2-week build to a Hell in the Cell match, and he is telling it like it's a 5-month epic. And it feels important, and it feels great, and it feels like everything is exactly what it needs to be. And we're 2 weeks into this build for a story that probably won't last another 3 weeks. And
yeah. Sorry, go.
No, I was just saying, and it's just remarkable that for 5 years we've booed this guy as he's main evented WrestleMania after main eventing WrestleMania, and we're all like, dude, we get that you're one of the best in the business, but we don't want you as our babyface. We want you as our heel. And now he's the heel, and he's performing the same thing he's always done, but his promos are 5 times better. His in-ring work is 5 times better because he's slowed down. He's not doing as much. He's telling this amazing slow story throughout all of his matches, and everything feels important with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and that was another thing I was gonna just add. Like, everything he does, and it almost seems like everything he feels just comes off organic in a way to where, as somebody who's watching it, that's exactly the takeaway you have. It's just all of the feelings are organic to him, and it is just absolutely amazing how he's able to just take his game to the next level. And I think that's where, when John Cena was telling him, this is a promo, kid, you have to learn how to do this, he did learn how to do this. And this is kind of the success he's now having. This is the platform that he now has. Everybody, I think, knows how good he is and how good he could be. Everybody saw the potential. But putting the pieces together, they just wanted to see that final puzzle because they know how important that final puzzle was going to be. And now we're seeing all the pieces put together in the right way. And he is solidifying himself right now as just a first ballot Hall of Famer on this run. So before we go to the next segment, I just want to take this time because this show is always primarily over Roman. Just one last thing about Roman Reigns is, how do you view him when the next thing comes? Because eventually he does have to go back to babyface. Eventually he does have to change his tone. How do you think that's going to be now, knowing that he's had this great run? Because personally, I think we're going to see a lot less mix of the yays and boos. We're going to see more on the extreme reaction side.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are still going to boo Roman because everybody loves to boo Cena for the same thing. But I think that he's gotten everybody up. I won't say everybody. He's gotten so many more people on his side now because he's shown this capability that because I don't think he's going to turn until he needs to. And I think the fans are going to be able to turn him. You say John Cena. What if we get this Roman Reigns versus John Cena? That's going to be a match that's big time for SummerSlam. And this Roman Reigns can handle John Cena on the mic.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was hitting it. So I'm happy you picked up on that, because I'm assuming just from hearing speculations that the rumored main event for SummerSlam this year will be John Cena against Roman Reigns. But before we get there, we still have plenty of this card to get to. An Aziz build promo of him just repeatedly hitting people with a Nigerian nail. I think we get it with him. He can hit you really hard with his thumb in your throat, and it hurts. It makes you suck wind. It makes you really short of breath. We understand it. We've seen it before with Umaga. But in a way, I'm happy that they're at least making him look a little bit like a monster, a little bit bigger than what he was. Although I think you got to get a little bit more creative than just he's big, he's a sidekick, and he really hit you hard in the throat with his thumb. We instantly get to a tag match between Big E and KO, which I just thought the irony of this, knowing that at one point we had the Big O replacing the Big E in New Day, and this is the first time they're really on the same page.
I love how that was referenced to today in the in the backstage promo, where KO does this great job of putting over Big E's the strongest guy in our locker room. He's so strong. He's great. I'm in a tag team match. I've got one of the best tag team wrestlers in all of WWE. He's a 9-time tag team champion. And then they go to Big E, and Big E's like, yeah, Kevin's all right. He's pretty good. And he's like, really? That's it? He's like, dude, the wound's still fresh, man. It hurts. And I love how that, like, it's a little thing that WWE 9 times out of 10 forget. But it's Big E and it's Kevin Owens. And they have the freedom to be able to bring up something silly like that Vince would think is silly. But all of us fans are like, no, it's staring us in the face. Somebody please bring this up. And then he goes into his Big E spiel, and they get ready to go into the match. And it's framing this friendship in a great light, where it's like, they're not friends, but they know that they have a common enemy, and they're willing to work together because Big E doesn't forget, but at the same time, he can't do this alone.
Yeah, it really reminded me of, like, if you remember the movie, I'm sure I remember the name of it now because it's been a while. Shoot, I forgot it, so I'm going to move on. That's what you do when you kind of blow a spot. Oh, man, it's gonna haunt me. But we did have a tag match between Cruz, Aziz, Big E, and KO. What did you think about the match? Because I thought it was pretty standard from what I saw of it.
Yeah, it was a pretty good standard tag team match. Aziz is still getting his feet wet in the ring. I mean, there's a reason why when he was his previous things, he was in Raw Underground and he wasn't doing a whole lot. And then before that, he was doing all the things he was doing before that as the big, like this dude, like he's tall, he's big, but he's still he feels very green. It's a lot of short steps and big moves. It's a lot of power. It's a lot of punch. It's a lot of, kicking. Do I think he can be better? Absolutely. I think that he's got a long way to go, but it was a good first start. He's an imposing figure. He wrestled in that like military outfit the entire match, which give him props for that. That can't be easy.
Yeah, no, it seems like he is still a big piece of steak with very little to no sizzle right now, and we're impressed that it's a steak, but it doesn't stand out to other steaks that have all the ingredients, all the sizzle, just all that extra things that we actually enjoy. So it's very bland and vanilla at times to see Aziz when, you can do 1, 2, maybe 3 things, but the more you do those 1, 2, or 3 things, you get bored of it pretty quick. You get stale very fast. And the one thing I think is great, you're with Apollo, who I believe is on the best run he's ever had under the WWE Absolutely. Banner. I think we talk about long title runs being very important to not only people, but just the history. I think Apollo Crews should hold on to the Intercontinental title until WrestleMania next year. And I think if that's the case, he then can have not only maybe a really good feud that's not for a title, but that could help him evolve to that main event scene. But it also brings back the just the heritage of the Intercontinental title. I think he's the right person to do that, given the gimmick that he has now, talking about mainly like the history and the heritage of his Nigerian roots, which I think is just so apropos to the idea that I just said. The movie I was referring to was Superbad, by the way. It was when Jonah Hill kicked the soccer ball, and I forget what he said, and then he's like, oh man, that was 10 years ago. And he's like, people don't forget. And it was like, yeah, like, and that's just it. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm 35 years old. I remember growing up on so many things in wrestling, to the point where I know like things have been done before. Yeah. And I just want to say, just like don't forget it. Don't insult my intelligence. Yeah. But just like kind of give a little bit of a, I don't want to say a throwback, but just highlight it like a I don't know, but just don't say like, oh my God, we've never seen this before. Don't give me a like, oh my God, who is this girl? Even though she was in NXT for ever, like for a couple of years before. Like it's things like that where it's 2021. I mean, we can find out everyone's real name. We can find out everybody's information on the internet. Don't insult our intelligence. And I really liked how Big E and KO kept it fresh. They kept it real. And what I was thinking, they said out loud because the wound is still fresh. Perfect word there, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's great because it lets you know that they give the wink and the nod to what's happened. It doesn't change what's going forward. They can still work together even if there's a fresh wound. And they can go forward and tell the story that they want to tell and have this really good. Like I said, those two are really good. They're fantastic. Apollo Crews is fantastic. The only hiccup, I think, to the Apollo Crews holding title till Mania is what happens in the draft. If we get a bunch of call-ups, that might be the one title that I say on SmackDown might need to start changing hands other than the tag titles, because if we get people like SmackDown. If it stays on SmackDown. But like if we get the Adam Coles or we get the Roderick Strongs or people like that on SmackDown, there might be some people who need that title. And you can still give Apollo a nice long run to like Survivor Series or right around that time. And then flip the belt and then maybe flip it back, to Apollo around Royal Rumble and go back from there.
The only guy I can see where if he comes back and he's on SmackDown from the draft and you can do a big thing, Keith Lee would make the most sense to be the next Intercontinental Champion in my eyes. I don't think you rush him into the main event scene, even though on Raw you're starved for new faces in that title picture, in my opinion. I think you still have to naturally build him up to get there, even though a lot of people would want to rush him up because that's the world we live in now, where, oh my God, he has potential. Let's throw him in the fire. No, I still think that's a mistake. I think a slow burn is still a lot better than a complete explosion in my eyes. But with that being said, it's one of those things where you just got to do, especially when it comes to the championships in WWE, you got to make them not only mean something, but when they change hands, it has to be special. And that's my thing moving forward with WWE is every time a championship moves, it needs to feel special. And this actually is a great segue into the next one because we saw a first ever Battle of the Crown match. And we saw a switch of the crown going from Baron Corbin to Shinsuke. We saw coordination afterwards. It made it feel special.
It did.
And because of that, this was a moment in tonight's show. I thought it was a good match. I thought these guys actually have great chemistry together. Their matches only seem to get better. Baron Corbin is vastly underrated as a heel, in my opinion. Needs to get away from this King Corbin character. And I thought this was just a bright light in disguise of getting that gimmick away from him and getting a more, maybe back into, whether it's a lone wolf, maybe it's something else. And then to also promote Shinsuke. And, well, Rick Boogs is just going to be just a highlight every single night. What did you think about this match? What do you think about the move of the crown and the fact that the crown actually now it has significance, it feels like? Because I thought the crown basically felt like a championship tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool. They made it a big deal when Rick Boogs is doing Shinsuke's entrance. You have the throne on one side of him, and you have this crown on this big, huge plinth on the other side. So then Shinsuke comes out, and throughout the match, they had this really cool angle where they're looking back down at the ring, but they're looking at it with the crown right in focus as it spins on this platform. Yeah. And it made you remember This is for the crown. And as silly as the crown gimmick can be, and as, but Nakamura is a guy who can do it, the king of strong style. And it really helps with Corbin because Corbin's the lovable heel, and the fact that everybody loves to hate him. I think he gets too much hate, like you. I think he's one of the most talented heels they have in the company. And this could be a main event feud in 2 years, because I think that both of these guys are capable of running this feud back with the chemistry that they have and having a really good set of matches for a world title. Now, do I think that'll happen? No, I don't think either one of them are going to see the world title picture. I think if one of them does, I think it'll be Corbin, because I think heels are more important to have in the world title picture than baby faces, and I don't think Nakamura is getting back there anytime soon. But I really love this match. It felt stiff. It felt like Nakamura's style of a match. It felt like Corbin was like, go ahead and lay into me, make it look good, make it feel good. It didn't look like they were fooling around. It looked like they were taking it really close and snug. And maybe that's something more that you can address to than I can. But it didn't feel like they weren't hitting each other, I guess is the way I would say it. And I mean, we've all seen a wrestling match where we, know that they're taking it a little easy on each other.
I'm going to throw it out there because I know it gets a lot of love in with the modern day fan. I personally do not like it, but the Ricochet Will Ospreay match, a lot of people seem to love it just with the athleticism, and I don't dispute the athleticism. I don't dispute that. But to me, I'd rather see a war inside the ring. I'd rather see Kurt Angle against William Regal. I'd rather see Steve Austin against Triple H. Like, I want to see those hard-hitting matchups as well. Yes, I like the great story. There's a wrestler that not a lot of people talk about out of Edmonton nowadays for a lot of reasons that I just loved watching his work because it just seemed fresh. So like, it's just one of those things where to me, wrestling is a great competition. And that's what I love. And that's what we got out of Shinsuke and Baron Corbin tonight. We had a match where not only were they taking each other to the next level in the sense of it, they were testing, or they were really giving everything they had almost. They were really laying it in. They made you feel if you won the match, you earned it. You went through a war to get something. That's what I loved. It made you feel like the crown actually meant more to you than, well, it's just something to put on your head. Like, it's not a joke. It was something that both men actually desired for. They wanted. It had value, and it recognized to them. And the meaning of that meant something to them. So I thought it was really good in the execution way of how they went through this match. They didn't really do a lot of like the jokingly stuff like they had done in the past in the match, which I loved because I like the joking stuff in the segments. I don't like it in the match necessarily. But what I did like, I loved the coordination. That was absolutely amazing. Shinsuke is now the king of strong style, I believe. Like, it's like
King Nakamura.
It's official. He's the king of strong style. King Nakamura, King Shinsuke, King Nakamura. I just made that one up. But either like it makes Shinsuke more recognizable now. And I think everyone just wanted something to Shinsuke. And if you can't put a title on him right now, this is very much the next best thing. Yeah.
I also wanted to talk about one thing about this match is the finish. The finish really stood out to me as something that's different and something that we don't see all the time. Nakamura hit 3 knees and then went for another one, and Corbin caught him off the top rope into a choke slam that Shinsuke Nakamura turned into another knee. And then he got him into the Kinshasa. And that's just, it's such a Shinsuke type of finish. But it felt different from anything else on the show because, nobody else on this show is going to be able to do a finishing sequence like that.
Yeah. Well, not anymore. I think they may have gotten one out of Murphy, but he's no longer with the company. Still a match I
True.
wanted to see, by the way, is Shinsuke against Murphy. I thought that would have been killer. But needless to say, yeah, like this, and that's just it. Like wrestling is like a movie. If the ending falls flat, everything you've seen prior to that specific ending doesn't mean as much. Everything almost feels devout because the last thing you saw should be the lasting impression of you when you talk about it, right? And if the lasting impression was a wet fart, then it has very little significant meaning. But if it made you jump out of your seat, it made you like have an out of body experience, whatever, then you know you're onto something. And that was what we saw. Like we saw a great finish. Therefore, the match is going to be that much better because of the finish. Also, what we see next is going to have more volume and more value because everything that happened prior to that laid an impression on you as a viewer, as a part of the audience. And that is what I think we need more with Shinsuke. Not saying that he's anything bad, but we just don't get that enough with him. So that's what I actually am happy you brought that up because this is how you can get Shinsuke over with a North American audience without having to necessarily speak. And I think that is a benefit for him moving forward.
I wholeheartedly agree. And pairing him with Rick Boogs, like if you're not going to have Nakamura talk and you're going to have him be wild and crazy and kooky like Nakamura can be, and that seems very Nakamura too. Like I don't want to say that they're making him be this way. That seems very him. Like I think him and Rick Boogs actually get along. I could see them going and hanging out. I could see them riding the road together. And it's going to get Rick Boogs over with the audience because this is the gimmick that dude's going to need to have. And it gives him instant credibility because he's working with Nakamura.
Yeah.
And he can talk for Nakamura.
I really want to see them just put on social media him playing the guitar. Maybe it's his theme. Maybe it's Shinsuke's theme song, but whatever. But it's the Shinsuke surfing with the crown on. I just think that would be so entertaining and just so funny. And little things like that always seem to help guys. I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
It could be anything. These two guys are ultra talented. They're funny. They're naturally charismatic people. It really doesn't matter. Just put them on my screen and have them make me laugh and smile.
Yeah.
Just don't do the jokey stuff like you said. Leave the jokey stuff for before the match, after the match, backstage, but don't do it in the ring.
Well, I mean, a good joke isn't forced. It's an organic thing, and that's what I would like to see happen in WWE more often. Just more organic comedy than forced comedy, because forced comedy just makes me like, really? Like, we can see amazing matches from this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, but you gave me 5 minutes of this, and it just was why? And I think that's what they try too hard on that side. They put, I don't know, it's just like some guys are meant to be funny, some guys aren't, and that's okay, because in WWE, you have enough guys where you know are just entertaining in a comedy way, entertaining in just a natural way, but they're entertaining in a professional wrestling way. They're all fine. And that's where you got to play to the strengths and let the organic happen and just stop kind of looking over every little minuscule and saying, nope, this needs to be done this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way. Don't plan every little thing. Let it just grow and let's see what happens, because that's the best part. We talked earlier about just letting the guys have the freedom to speak with KO and Big E, and it's just like, thank you. It's refreshing. And I think just trust your talent a little bit more, because they're damn good.
You hired them for a reason. Let them do it.
Yeah.
Also, just want to say before we get too far away from it, at some point after the match, KO does go backstage to Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce and asks for a match against Sami Zayn, which we later get confirmed for Hell in the Cell.
I was actually just about to get there, so that was perfect.
I wasn't
timing.
sure if I wasn't sure if it was here or if it was just before. And I'm looking at my notes and going, I'm missing it somewhere, but I know it happened.
I think it was right after the match. We jumped the gun, but we were in such a long thing with the Shinsuke. So I'm just like, oh, let's just finish this first. But yeah, no, it's weird because I remember the one time in the match a couple weeks ago, Kevin Owens did a ridiculously long selling of the Nigerian nail. And then it's like he's coughing, he can't, whatever. And then he's like having trouble to speak. He was like, I want Apollo, no. And he was speaking really long sentences. And I'm just like, man, just shorten up. Just be like, Cruz, title, next week, no Aziz. But then he's like, I want a side of eggs. I want it with no onions, no, like, and it's just like you too long. And it's like, if you're choking, like, why? Like, it just sounds fake. But then now he can actually, after hitting a Nigerian nail in the match, and then after the match, now he's good to like say, I want Sami Zayn next week. And yeah, like,
yeah, but I think he did a really good job. Like you said, he did shorten it this week. Like he kept trying to say, I want Sami, but he couldn't get it out. And they were trying to be like, are you sure? Like, you're not in any condition to have this match. Are you really sure you want this match? I think they did a good job of selling it, that the Nigerian nail is a big move and that it was done twice. But at the same time, he wasn't doing, like you're saying, he wasn't ordering his breakfast, for himself and his whole table. It was, I want Sami. It was much more of a short breath. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like where I wanted to say, like, I don't want this to be right after the match. Like, I can understand where it's like, okay, it's fresh in your mind. But man, give it a segment or two, and then it's like, okay, then you can at least explain why his like throat is getting a little bit better, why he's able to talk a little bit, instead of just right after the match where, okay, that of all times should be the hardest for him to talk. So if you did it a little bit later, you still get the point across. You still get what you need to get across, but then you allow the realism of him actually getting a word out a little bit more. Okay, this just seems to make sense. This was an example of things just being forced in my eyes. It has nothing to do with the way it was executed. It was just a way of just give it a segment or two, let it breathe a little bit. I mean, you could. But with that, we get to Bianca Belair having a promo where I thought, there we go. Finally, our first comment of the show. Mr. J, did he nail it? The performance, I mean. Debatable.
Sort of. I mean,
I don't know. Yeah, debatable in my eyes. But with that, Mr. J, welcome, by the way. You can always jump in if you really want to, by the way. But we get to Bianca. We get to her promo, which I really liked, actually. This was a refreshing promo, Bianca. We got to actually get more into Bianca the person instead of just like I'm going to just whip my hair and do the little spinny, which is like so freaking stupid now. Like, okay, cool. That was cool in NXT. But I want to see an evolution of Bianca on the main roster, especially as champion now. But I worked really hard. I scratched, I clawed to get here. Great promo. My only thing, I've seen this a million times before. And I think Bianca Belair and The Miz to me are two people that I like them better not in character than I do them in character.
Yeah. I can wholeheartedly agree with that one.
And it's amazing to me that when the camera, like their performance is second to none. Not going to say anything negative about their work rate, even though I do think Bianca Belair needs to sell more to get you more emotionally invested with her. But she is someone, when we talk about Roman and the potential, this girl has serious potential. She is insanely strong. She is insanely athletic. She is insanely just quick in the ring. That is just fantastic. She ups the tempo, and it's great. She pushes the pace. It's great. She's definitely a female alpha in the ring when it comes to that stuff. And this was a promo that made me care about Bianca Belair, the person, more. which I liked. It highlighted her. I just wished it was done in a different spin, but I'm not going to take that away because it got the point across. Bayley interrupted. We saw a beat down. She's holding the title high. We've seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
Babyface promo, heel tax. No, I'm the champion. Message set, right? It's a statement promo. Never gets old if you do it right. Bayley always does it right, in my opinion. What did you think about this, and how invested are you into their matchup at Hell in a Cell now?
I like their match coming up at Hell in a Cell. I mean, I'm never gonna get old. It's never gonna get old to see Bayley in a match for me. Bayley's, in my mind, she's the second of the 4 horsewomen. I have her on a high pedestal. I know me and you go back. We differ on our 4 horsewomen.
Let's just have some fun right now because.
All right, let's have some fun.
You're 4 in horsewomen right now.
Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha, Becky.
I just don't know. Like, how's Becky always last? Like, I just don't.
I've never connected to the Becky character in NXT. I've never really connected to her on the main roster.
Becky was not the best NXT character. We're getting totally a side topic, but it's fine. As well,
it's prominent. She was seen at the Performance Center today, as reported by Fightful Select and PW Insider.
There we go. We're recapping. Unfortunately, I have been banned by the powers to be from joining you gentlemen.
You guys got Wrestling Society X coming.
When has that ever stopped him from breaking a rule or just doing things his way? I'm just gonna.
Maybe it's that new contract he signed. I mean, he did sign that new contract.
Well, I mean, that's just got to read the fine print, brother. I mean, that's why hire lawyers.
I mean, I respect Becky for everything she's done. I respect the work rate. I respect her ability. I don't think that she's as smooth as the other 4 horsewomen in the ring. And on top of that, like I said, I just don't connect to her character. So for me, she falls down. I don't discriminate against everybody who loves Becky Lynch because I get it. I can see why people love her. I just can't connect to it. Give me Charlotte. Give me Bayley. To an extent, give me Sasha. Because I think they all do what Becky does, but better. No,
Did I have to? Did I really have to? Poetry of a promo. You always say you're great with the wordplay. You're the intellectual mind. Reading got you? Really? Reading. Come on. No, I completely get you. I completely get people with the emotional investment, and everyone has a different cup of tea. To me, she got the most naturally over. The company tried to get her to go heel. The fans said, we're with her 100%. Most iconic female moment to me is the whole with the blood. Man, that was, I mean, to me, it was just such an organic rise. To me, the big thing was they didn't put the title on Shayna Baszler at the chance of WrestleMania. And because of that, if she didn't get pregnant,
Shayna's suffered because of that.
If Becky didn't get pregnant, I feel she would have gotten so bored of quickly because it's always her for a year, and we just live in a world where you got to keep the ball moving. And if it's in the same possession of the same player for too long, people are going to these things, and they're like, okay, what else can I do? Attention span is very small nowadays, and that's where it made Charlotte's going to be the GOAT. Go just based on her titles, but man, those title reigns to me don't mean anything when it's like I'm 4 years in and I'm already a 53-time women's champion. Great. And then Sasha finally had a title reign where she finally successfully defended the title, and that to me really hurt her. We are totally getting off topic, but that tends to happen with me. So it's not your fault; it's my fault. I will take accountability for this.
But this video package coming up, I just want to speak to this. I absolutely love the video package and the promo and the backstage promo that follows it.
So I missed the video promo. Do you want to kind of just take over what we saw?
So basically, it's just the retelling of the last couple weeks. It starts with the tag team match that opened SmackDown where the ref made the bad call and the shoulder was up and the Mysterios got the win. It then goes to the backstage stuff. And all this time as you're seeing this footage, you're hearing Jimmy Uso cutting his promo from last week where he's talking about how they got screwed and how it should have been them. And then it cuts to the backstage stuff between the Usos and how that's going. And then it cuts to the Roman stuff about, Roman being, as Tom put it, and I wholeheartedly agree, it's almost like he's become part of an abusive relationship with Jay. Like he's really putting it on focus that Jay is stuck in the middle of these two people and Roman's trying to make him feel bad about being part of it. And then it talks, they go through the segment where Jay walks away. And then it cuts to Roman sitting in his locker room and he's, got his little white glove in his hand and he's just playing with it. And Jimmy comes in. And Jimmy goes up to him and he says, I just wanted to say good luck. And I've rethought about the things that you said. Me and you may not see eye to eye 100%. I may not agree with everything you do. I may not agree with everything you say, but we're family and we have to be better together. And Roman says, that's great. Where's Jay? And he's back to focusing on Jay. And they're making Jay an important part. He's like, look, I called him. I tried to go see him. I haven't seen him. I've been calling him. I've been texting him. I've been hitting him up on Twitter. He's nowhere to be found. I don't even know if he's around right now. He might have gone home. And Roman's like, but tonight, if you need me, I'm there for you. And Roman's like, no, I don't need you. I need Jay. You need Jay. We as a family need Jay. We're better together. We're stronger as family. He's like, I'll take care of business tonight, but you go find your brother because that's who we need.
And to me, that spoke volume because it made Jay so much more than what we actually have viewed him lately. We view Jay more stuck in the middle. Like when we talk about being stuck between a rock and a hard place, that is very fitting given the fact that he is super loyal to his cousin Roman. He acknowledged him everything. He is loyal here. But then also he has a blood-related twin brother over here. And they have been, just this their entire life. And now all of a sudden, there's a wedge of confusion between the two of them of where do you go? It's like almost a choice that he has to make. And it almost seemed like he just said, I need time.
Yeah.
And it very much feels real because we've all been in those positions where we've had two things that we've loved almost attack each other and we're caught in the middle. And it's like, which one do you choose? And then I don't know about you, but I personally say if I have two things that I love and they're forcing me to make a decision, I'm going my own way and they can figure it out. Because if you really love me, you don't put me in the middle of something. And I really feel like I'm not collateral damage. I'm a human being. What did you think of this? What do you take away? And how do you where do you think this whole angle in storyline goes?
I don't know. Like tonight, it really put a big spin on it, especially when we talk about the main event. When we talk about the post-match to that main event with what goes on there. It's really interesting to see Jimmy coming around without any real – there's no physicality between the two of them. We didn't get a match like I thought we might get a match to kind of do it like retell the Jay story with Jimmy, get him on board going into SummerSlam. I thought that would be our path to SummerSlam to get ready for Cena versus Roman. But we're not, which is cool because they're flipping the story and they're giving me something I didn't see coming. Jimmy coming to his own senses and being like, no, I'm with you. Like, I don't agree with you all, but I'm with you. And now it's, where's Jay? What is Jay thinking? So now it really does make Jay his main event Uso. And I love that they've taken two tag team wrestlers and made me care about them as single individuals.
Especially like a twin tag team, which it always seems very hard to dissect which one is which, especially when they're identical twins. Needless to say, if one of the Bellas didn't get a certain surgery, we might still not know which one is which.
I'll be honest, I had to rewind tonight's promo twice because I missed the name bar that said Jimmy Uso on it because I couldn't tell which Uso it was.
I remember when they had the face paint, one would always wear it on the one side and one would wear it on the other side. And I'm like, okay, that was my thing. And then when they took the face paint off, then I was like, okay, but then there's like certain things, like the way they have their hair. Like usually one always has it tied up while the other one's letting it go a lot more. That always made me go. I always look for the wedding band, especially early, because one always represents, if you have the wedding band, I know both of them are married, but I think not all, both of them always wear the wedding band in the ring. I know Jimmy does all the ways, because him and Naomi always wear the wedding band. So it's like, that's usually a tell for me. Now it's just like one has a since day one-ish shirt and one has
I was going to say,
right
it's the shirts. I missed looking at the shirts and I saw the day one-ish and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I should have known it's Jimmy. But it was a great promo. It felt real. Again, going back to the same thing, it's a story. It's a running theme in this show. Everything felt real. It felt real in the opening segment with Ray and Roman. It felt real when we were talking about Nakamura and Corbin. It felt real with the Bianca promo. Kevin Owens and Big E together backstage felt real.
Sorry, no, Andrew just jumped in the comments and said there was no reason for them to move that match tonight, brah. Hopefully I said brah.
I mean, there's a reason. It's not a good reason, but the reason is Fox wants ratings. That's probably the best reason we're going to get.
Yeah, and I thought, like, unless we're going to get something in Hell in a Cell involving Roman Reigns that is bigger than a match with Rey Mysterio inside of Hell in a Cell, I can understand. If we're seeing a real development of this storyline between both Usos and Roman, I can fully understand. But also, I have a feeling we might get more significance out of the Lashley-McIntyre match, and it gives a little bit more emphasis on the other matches, which is kind of nice because SmackDown does a good job of SmackDown does a job of making Roman Reigns always the focal point of their show, and then when you see him on the pay-per-view, he's always the main event. This allows Roman Reigns not to be on a show, not to necessarily be a main event, others to have that opportunity. So I see this as an opportunity for somebody else to say, I'm going to take this and I'm going to go with it, because you have to. Not to mention, man, Drew McIntyre's last chance as Bobby Lashley for the champion if he doesn't win. That's a big deal. There's a lot of stakes there on top of a championship, so it should be a main event if you ask me.
I was going to say, I was just going to ask you, do you think that main events, or is there something else that you think that ends up main eventing this show on Sunday?
I don't think anything else has. I mean, how the WWE Championship should always main event, in my opinion. If not, then you're doing a disservice not only to your audience but your championship more and primarily, and you probably have the wrong guy wearing that title. But yeah, so I don't know. It'll be interesting unless we see something bigger, which very well could happen. But I don't know. Stay tuned to the, you see right there, the POS show for more, Sunday, which is going to be airing live for the first time at Beercade YEG this Sunday. I believe it is going to be around, I think, 2 o'clock our time, so 4 o'clock Eastern. But tune into lovewrestling.ca more. Want to give a shout out to the people that are here Actually, before we'll go to Mr. J. Turns out what the Fox S is, I want ratings. I'll see myself out. Please don't, Mr. J. We like
that
the numbers.
Was good. I like that.
We like the viewers on here. We like the comments. But we also like people helping out good causes. And if you go to the link below at donate.tiltify.com at @lovewrestling.ca/Trevor Project. And if you can donate, if you can't, please spread the word to your friends, to anybody who follows you on social media. Just help us do a good cause. Help us raise the new goal of $2,000 this month to help raise the Trevor Project that really helps with suicide prevention of people in the LGBTQ plus. Saying it slowly, it makes me kind of get it more better. Because but they do such a great cause. It's such an important thing. And if this COVID era, yes, it's an era to me, even though I'm wearing the Undisputed era. This era has told me that if you're not helping people out, then you're not getting the message anymore. And the message right now is to go and help out if you can. Even if you can't financially support, please spread the word. And there might be someone you know that can. And that really is important. But there's no shame if you cannot. Just awareness. And awareness. That is what we're doing. That is what we want you to help us with. Because we need you to help us reach your goal. So thank you for that.
The more people that see the link, the more chances there are that somebody is going to be touched by it. And even if they're not donating, maybe we find somebody who's in trouble with this link and here's what the Trevor Project does and reaches out to them. And that's a good thing too.
Cricket Best Tipper says, hi, Cricket Best Tipper. I might call you CBT because I could get in trouble with how I say that really fast. I don't know. Funny thing actually is I used to do backyard wrestling when I was in high school. One of my nicknames was the Cricket.
Interesting.
So just there's a reason I don't use that now, but just thought it's cool. I don't see cricket very often.
You don't want crickets in the arena, do you?
Well,
hearing crickets is a bad thing.
Well, I mean, it depends. If I was the cricket and I'm hearing crickets, then I know my peeps are there. It's totally that was. Now you know why that character never went anywhere. But with that, speaking of going anywhere, we got Alpha Academy.
Yes.
Oh my God. Heel Otis is such a delight.
I love seeing him with nothing, no facial hair at all, and he doesn't take the sourpuss, my cat just got run over look off his face.
The little things, when executed perfect, are so essential to the right way in pro wrestling. Otis is just a different beast. Chad Gable is just amazing. We all know how good he is in the ring. The one thing that we just wanted to see him more is take his game to the next level, be quote unquote more entertaining, I guess, but also do everything else that is needed to do this job and be good at that. And then you're where we always want, you're where we want you to get to in terms of being a fan of him. But the pairing of him and Otis, oh my God, this is terrific. I would say Chad Gable might actually be the reason Tucker got canned, because they're like, nope, he works better with this guy than he did with him.
I was going to say, I have a question for you. It was something that was brought up in the watch party that I was part of before we did this. And I want to ask it to you because you're an in-ring competitor. Mm-hmm. Is Chad Gable too giving in the ring with his not only with his character, but with his tag teams. Because you had American Alpha, which was one of the best NXT tag teams that they've had in NXT. But it was always Jason Jordan was the lead on that. And it turned out when they did the Kurt Angle thing, WWE very mistakenly chose Jason Jordan instead of Chad Gable for that. Then, Gable does all his stuff with Baron Corbin, and it doesn't really get him over, and he's the Shorty G, and that whole terrible, terrible era that we'll just ignore. Now he's in this thing with Otis, and it's like it's great because it's getting them over, but at the same time, it feels like a vehicle to continue to push Otis as a bigger star. And I'm wondering, should there be a little bit more selfishness, almost to an extent, for Gable to try to make this, to get creative, to be like, no, let's use this as a vehicle to push Gable higher?
I would say yes, and I'm going to give you a very conservative answer of yes and no, because it's not a complete yes and it's not a complete no. I don't think Chad Gable is experienced enough in wrestling to understand the heel, how much being a heel can help you being a face later. I personally feel I'm being a better face now than when I first started, because when you get to work heel, you become more comfortable in yourself. Your confidence just rises, just because you're almost feeling you have to be cookie cutter a lot as a good guy. And then when you're a bad guy, it's like, okay, now you get the edge. Now you kind of get to be set free. It's like, okay, like as a kid, I was always in daycare. I always had these set of rules. And then you go to high school recess and it's like, oh no, just do whatever you want, but just come back at this time. And you're like, freedom. What? And then all of a sudden, then the wheels can kind of start spinning if you're really devoted and dedicated to it. And I think that's what we're seeing with Chad Gable as a heel now. I think he's starting to finally piece things together. Promo work, he still needs work at. He's not the most believable tough guy promo. He's really good. Like, the one thing that differentiates Kurt Angle and Chad Gable is the believability on the promos. Chad Gable does not strike fear in me the way Kurt Angle could and did.
Yeah.
And because of that, you don't look at him in the same light as Kurt Angle, even though in a ring, one might mirror the other very closely. There is that believability factor outside of the ring. Kurt Angle, even though he was very goofy at times and he knew how to make fun of himself, which is still something Chad Gable does not know how to do that well. He can take a joke, but he doesn't know how to have fun with the joke necessarily. And that could be a creative thing. But with that being said, there are guys nowadays that can get past the creative, like a bad idea. They can make that chicken salad out of the chicken, you know what? So I do put a little bit more onus on the performer and less on the creative in that realm. John Cena has flat out said, like, you know how many times they've given me chicken, you know what? And I had to go out there and do what I do. There are some times where you just, in real, you have to go out there and be like, I'm not going to listen to what I was told, but if I'm going to go rogue, then I better make it really good, because if I don't, I'll get in a lot of trouble. And that's kind of, I think Chad Gable has to kind of live on the edge a little bit in that sense. And maybe he'll either grow to benefit, or maybe he'll go somewhere else, like a Ring of Honor, and could really help his game out, or, something like that. But no,
I was just curious.
Otis to me is still more of a complete package, just because of the entertainment aspect. Because that fits WWE more than necessarily in ring. He can get through a good match. Chad Gable, yes, he can give you a better pure wrestling match. I'm not going to argue that. But Chad Gable can't make me emotionally invested in a wrestling match with a microphone in his hand. And I think that's where he needs to improve if he's going to get to that next level. But that's why I love these guys together, because they complement each other so well.
Yeah.
Now that they're heel and they get that edge and they get to just go roughshod on their competition, amazing. One thing I am going to point out, I hated that even though they took out Montez Ford last week and he's not there tonight and it was just supposed against Dawkins, even though he had a bum shoulder, he's still doing his dancing and whatnot. Cut that out. Your brother was taken out by the two guys in the ring. I don't know about you, but you take out my brother and I have a chance to go for you. I'm coming for blood and I'm keeping it as direct as humanly possible. I'm not dancing. I'm not having a good time. I'm there for a reason. I'm in the zone.
It's the difference between Rey Mysterio and Angelo Dawkins.
And to me, Angelo Dawkins was just not real enough. And I always took him as the most real of the two Street Profits, but he was too fun. He was not real enough for me. And that's why it was really hard for me to care about Angelo Dawkins tonight.
It was a good beatdown, though. I'll have to say that. It was a really good beatdown. I love that vicious Otis does like 2 or 3 bounces off the ropes and then hits that nice clothesline while Gable does that.
Lariat.
The discus lariat with the mixed in with the German. It looked brutal.
Yeah. When it comes to good tag team finishes, that one is solid. And it's great because it gives you a very much of a, I'll say NWA, but I really want to see that more Smoky Mountain feel. Like it's not like a giant move that just has 2 people. It's not like a 3D or a Magic Killer. But it's technical. It's wrestling based. But it's effective because it just looks brutal. It fits them but it fits both guys perfectly. And that's you get your power out of Otis and your technique out of Gable, but then you get the effect of the move with the ferocity and the aggressive of it. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Now here's the one issue that I had with SmackDown the whole night as we're moving on from this wonderful Otis, the Alpha Academy. They do a backstage segment with Rey Mysterio where he's praying and getting ready for his match. And it seems like they're going to get ready to start lowering the cell. And I'm making my notes because I made some notes. And I'm like, great, this is perfect timing. It's 9:20. We're going to go to our main event segment. And we're going to get a 25 to 30-minute match out of Rey Mysterio and Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And when we come back from commercial break, we're not getting a Rey Mysterio entrance. We're not getting a Roman Reigns entrance. We get a great segment, but I don't like this. They've done this a lot lately, and it's something that irks me a little bit. They start one segment, and they're like, all right, we're going to go backstage to this other segment.
This is exactly where I'm talking about, when we saw Kevin Owens ask for the match with Sami Zayn, this is where this promo and segment should have been.
Yep.
I say that because the Kevin Owens thing honestly didn't even need a promo. It could have been one of those, we just got word that next week we're getting this match. And that could have been done by the announcers as the cell is lowering down, and then they go into the hype mode for the match that we're about to see. And then we don't have to get that visual of Kevin Owens talking again after getting hit with it. We just assume that he's selling. He couldn't talk, but we got the point at. Yeah. That is where I would personally change what we saw tonight. But other than that, Cesaro versus Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell. If there's a match that should have Hell in a Cell implications, I'm going to say it. Seth Rollins and Cesaro should be inside a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, and we're going to run. I have the thing to run down the card for Hell in a Cell because they ran it down in between this segment and the main event. I love this segment because it made Seth look like a dick, which is what he's supposed to look like because he's the heel. And it made Cesaro look like a great babyface, like he's supposed to, because that's what he is. And then he just does something so funny at the end that just puts a final cap on the segment. I love how Seth was like, you disgust me. The fact that you're here and in this position, it's a disgrace. You don't belong being in a program with me. You're not worthy of my time. And I don't respect you.
Yeah. You got the notes. I'm going to let you have it. In fact, I'm going to try to learn how to give you the big screen, actually.
Oh, no. My first big screen.
There you go. I did learn how to do it.
So my notes said, so he talks about how disgusted he is that Cesaro's in this position and how Cesaro's in this program with him. And then Cesaro goes, you know what, Seth? I respect that you think that. I respect that you have that opinion. I respect that you think that I'm disgusting. I respect everything about you. I respect everything you've ever done and everything you're going to do. That being said, I'll see you on Sunday. And then he takes it, and it's great. And he gives him a compliment. Right before he does that, he's like, oh, by the way, I also respect you as a man and being a professional, that you didn't come in here and just attack me. That was great. And then he takes, as he's getting ready to walk away, he just pushes Seth's chair over and walks away. Absolutely fantastic. A+ segment for me. It gets over these two guys. They don't have to physically touch. And it wasn't a microphone promo. It was Seth talking nice and quiet, right in front of a camera, right to Cesaro.
Yeah, and I think just the subtlety of what they did goes a little, I don't know if it gets appreciated, because we don't see that enough in wrestling, where it's a controlled sit down. But yeah, it gets a little heated, but not enough to where you're like, oh my God, like another one of these. It's like that contract signings that never end well. Like, we knew what we were going to get. It was one of those that now just made you, Cesaro got the upper hand. We're going to a match. I want to see the match. This episode of SmackDown, before we get to the Hell in a Cell, I am giving you an A+ on selling me on the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. An amazing go-home show.
Absolutely fantastic.
Now, we can't go home until we have a main event. But before we get to the main event, I just want to remind everyone to go and donate if you can. Again, we're going to kick you in the teeth with this. We're going to just remind you. Could be a ding-dong. It could be anything. Think about this as just our job to help you, help other people. And that's all we want you to do. We want you to either go to donate.tiltify.com/outlovewrestling/Trevor Project, or we want you to go tell a friend about donate.tiltify.com/outlovewrestling/Trevor Project. We also want you to spread the word at twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca, youtube.com/lovewrestlingca. We want you to go to lovewrestling.ca/shop. We want you to do all that good stuff.
I just got my mug. I'm super excited to have it tomorrow with my cup of coffee. It just got washed, so I'm going to have my morning cup of coffee in my Sunday brunch mug. Very excited.
Yeah, one thing that not enough people need to know, you get a mug. You always wash it before you use it. Just a little bit of a heads up.
It's also, it's great. I got the mug. It's even a note in the mug. There's a little note in the mug when you get it. It's like, remember, this is a mug. Wash it first before you use it.
Yeah, I did not read that. My wife did, so thank God. But with that being said, there's no reading necessary. We have Rey Mysterio, and we have Roman Reigns inside a Hell in a Cell for the first time ever on SmackDown, noted by Pat McAfee, who I thought was awesome tonight.
Pat McAfee he's done such a great job. The first couple of weeks, I thought he was a little extra, but he's done a good job of tailoring it down and kind of bringing it back to where it needs to be. Him and Michael Cole have an absolutely amazing chemistry. They really work well together. WWE, for the first time, has 3 fantastic commentary teams, because I think Jimmy Smith is doing a really good job fitting in with Corey Graves and Byron Saxton on Raw. He feels real. He feels like he's not fully up to wrestling product, but at least he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and he has that combat sports feel from his time with Bellator. And yes, Pat McAfee is a huge fan, so he really, really gets over the fan feel next to Michael Cole, the consummate professional.
Well, Pat McAfee gets that instant respect because he at least has been in the ring. He has done the 2 matches in NXT.
Yep.
He had the incredible match with Adam Cole, baby. And then he had, pardon me, the War Games match where I thought both times he just stood out.
Yeah.
And so good. So at that thing, he has a little bit of street cred in the sense of the job, but also that he's a fan. He's excited. He's entertaining. He's a very entertaining individual. And because of that, he fits really good in WWE because he knows how to speak and he speaks eloquently. He's good in the booth. And because of that, it works. And then paired with Michael Cole, it's just perfect.
Absolutely fantastic.
Just absolutely perfect. And he's real. I think that's a nice thing too about Pat McAfee. He's just real. He's refreshed. But enough about Pat McAfee. We got Hell in a freaking Cell, people. Rey Mysterio, Roman Reigns, amazing match. I'm not even
really
going to say that. Like, yeah, we may have been able to get this on a pay-per-view, but we also got it live on Smackdown on a Friday night to kick off the weekend. And guess what? I now have Hell in a Cell fever. This was a great match. I'm going to turn it to you, Ed. What did you think of this match? And if you can, dissect it for the people listening.
So the match starts, bell rings right about 9:40 for me, Eastern Standard Time, so 7:40, I think, for you guys. But 20 minutes left on the show, which is great because it's just long enough to be what would be a pay-per-view main event match. It didn't feel short. It didn't feel cheated. It starts off great with Rey knowing that he's in trouble instantly and goes out and tries to get weapons. He grabs that steel chair, and shortly into this match, he goes ahead and puts it around Roman Reigns' head and starts slamming him into everything he can see. He goes ahead and slams him into the side of the cage. He slams him into the ring post with the chair around it to try to slow down Roman Reigns, to break down Roman Reigns by taking away his air. Absolutely fantastic. Smart, slow storytelling from a relatively quick individual, so I really like that. But of course, Roman gets control, and as soon as Roman got control, the match was over. Roman dissected and destroyed Rey, beat him up, took him out, and then the finish, I love the finish. He does the same similar powerbomb that he did to Dominic, but this time there's a Hell in the Cell in the way, and Rey just clatters against the cell and falls to the ground, and you hear Heyman going, "Oh God," in the background. Again, A+ to Paul Heyman. He is absolutely perfect with this Roman Reigns.
Yeah, just even the comment, he's going to acknowledge you.
Yeah.
And just the little things with Paul Heyman, like the guy is, if we want to talk about Hall of Fame talents, Paul Heyman, one of these years, needs to go in the Hall of Fame. I think if they ever do WrestleMania in Philadelphia, that's the time to put Paul Heyman in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. And then after the powerbomb, Roman Reigns just literally goes out, grabs Rey, throws him back in the ring, hooks the guillotine, match is over. Rey taps out almost instantaneously.
Yeah, and then after the match, we get Jimmy and Paul Heyman in the ring celebrating with Roman, who then seems like he's pissed off that Rey got up.
Yeah.
Puts him in the guillotine. And I'm going to say this. It's not just your normal guillotine where he hooks you like in the head and then falls down. He actually had a nice little cravat underneath the throat guillotine style, which I thought was really cool about this. And he kind of gave that a fresh look and kind of made it more his own, which I thought was really cool about it. And I thought it really, man, like if you were to think that Lesnar was a beast and cannot be stopped, this is the time I want to see Lesnar against anybody else, because they're doing the same thing with Roman Reigns, and it makes me wonder what's going to happen, because we've been talking about Jay being the one in the middle between Roman and Jimmy. Where does Paul Heyman sit? when Roman Reigns and Lesnar meet again.
Now this has to be a Mania level match. Like at this point now, with the way they've built Roman, you can't do Brock any other time other than Mania, right?
I think you could do this at Survivor Series when it's champion against champion.
Okay.
If Brock Lesnar is to come back and face, say, a Bobby Lashley, and he's the guy that takes the title away from Bobby, and then Roman's champion, this could be a very interesting dynamic, especially when Paul Heyman could still represent Lesnar on Raw, represent Roman on SmackDown, and his guys are facing off. That's an interesting dynamic and situation that I am sold in, especially both men are now built up in ways that no one can lose. Yeah, this is a battle of titans. This is that old school feel when you got Warrior against Hogan, whether you got Hogan against Macho. These are absolute, just one in a lifetime type scenario main events, if you ask me. It's not Rogan, or it's more like, yeah, it would be like WrestleMania 17 when you had Austin and Rock. No, 17.
Oh, no, 17. So I'm sorry,
where
Austin Rock.
I did not expect Austin to win that match. I expected Rock. I'm always an Austin guy, so I was pleasantly surprised. But then you got the turn, and like to me, turning Austin was stupid. But that was a moment that only WrestleMania was worthy of, was Austin and Vince shaking hands. I'm just saying, like, that was the last time where I actually felt like the main event was like, I don't know who's going to win because neither guy can lose. And this would be a scenario like that. It's just amazing to me with how well Roman Reigns is now. And the perception of Roman Reigns is through the roof.
Can you believe that? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go right ahead.
I was going to say 365 days ago, we're in the pandemic. Roman still hasn't come back yet. We're nearing SummerSlam where Roman comes back. And my God, in 1 year, I never thought that they could flip Roman so hard, so fast, and make me love Roman the way I love Roman right now. Roman can do no wrong right now. There's nobody you can put him in the ring with where you're not into the story and you're not into the match.
And to me, it's like, if you can do this with Roman Reigns, and yes, I'm going to include the answer, well, it's Roman Reigns. He's one of the best workers, wrestlers in WWE. Fair. But if you can do this with Roman Reigns, why couldn't you have done this with, say, the Aleister Blacks? Why couldn't you have done this with the maybe Ricochets? Why can't you do this with Murphy? Just all these people that got released. But then again, why can't you do this with Mustafa Ali? Why can't you do this with other people? We know you have the capability of doing this. Why can't you be more spread out and consistent with your talent pool? Why can't you create this dynamic throughout your roster instead of selectively with one or two people within it? And that is why you get Raw being the atrocity that is a 3-hour WTF.
It's on the upswing. Raw was actually pretty good this week. Yeah. I'll say it. It was pretty averagely good. And for Raw, that's very high praise lately.
Yeah, it's just a continuity thing. It's like
you've got 3 hours and you can't tell a coherent story.
You have one good episode out of how many? Is it a fluke? Did you just I don't know? It's like winning the lottery almost. It's like, yeah, you can't do it twice, kind of a thing. You got to be more consistent with it. And that's why, like, to me, like, a draft needs to happen. A real draft, NXT. Somebody can go from NXT to the main roster. You can go from main roster to NXT. And people are going to get mad at the main roster thing. Who cares? But with that being said, it's just, I don't know. I'd like to know what's next with Roman Reigns right now because it really seems like he is waiting for it. There are rumblings that John Cena's in just waiting in the wings now. Like that's the next guy for SummerSlam. I've also heard that Shinsuke Nakamura could very well be the next guy for Roman Reigns. I think a dynamic between Roman and Shinsuke would be very interesting.
I could see.
I would love to see Paul Heyman and Rick Boogs go one-on-one in a segment. That would be funny.
That would be great. That'd be great television. I mean, there's so much going on.
Imagine on after what was it? The Talking Smack segment where you have Caleb Braxton, Paul Heyman, and then you get Rick Boogs. I'm watching it. Just saying, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
And like Shinsuke and Roman are feuding at the time. Terrific.
But before we get to anything beyond this, I do want to give, because before the main event, they did give a rundown. And this is a really, really good card. I'm actually really excited for this. So they start with Bianca and Bayley inside Hell in the Cell as made by Tonight, with Bianca declaring she wanted it in Hell in the Cell. I don't think it needs Hell in the Cell, but fine. You want to put them in the cell? I'm not opposed to it. Whatever. It'll be fine. The match is going to be good either way. Cesaro versus Seth Rollins got added tonight. Again, love it. Love it. Give me that match. It's going to be phenomenal. Yeah. Charlotte versus Rhea. Good. Okay. I mean, you've been telling the story since Mania last year. So, good. Charlotte versus Rhea. KO versus Sammy got added tonight. Great. Those two never have a bad match. So I'm sure it'll be fantastic.
Do you think that's the pre-show match?
It could be. I think it probably will be. I really do.
To me, that's either the pre-show or the opener.
Which honestly, either way, which is fine. Because, I mean, they may add something with RK Bro on the pre-show. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then after KO and Sammy, we got Alexa versus Shayna. So, there's not everything can be a winner. The storyline isn't the greatest.
No, but we do have Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss on a pay-per-view.
Which I'm excited for.
And there's a silver lining to that. Yeah, the story might not be amazing. I don't think it's an end-all to that story. I really don't. I think it's just a new chapter. Like, it's going to continue. So I'm interested to see that direction.
Yeah, and then we have what I expect to be the main event of the show. Lashley versus Drew. Hell in the Cell. If Drew loses, he can't challenge against Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship again.
Yeah. Top to bottom, like a solid card. Yeah. It's not that people really look at the competitors necessarily as saying, oh, okay, like whatever, this guy, like what? Yeah, I mean, for some people will be. And sorry, I just found out Montreal won. I'm mad. But
me too.
Yeah, my boy Nick Holden is on Vegas, so I'm going for Vegas. But with that being said, like it's just sometimes it's just the creativeness and the build-up that makes the pay-per-view, and the build-up hasn't been that bad. This could very well be one of your surprise pay-per-views of 2021, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to the next time I'll be seeing everyone. And that's actually tomorrow night on the Blown Off stream. Ed, I don't know if you're joining us. Are you joining us?
I will not be joining you. I have my daughter this weekend, so I don't think it's a good idea to get loud and rowdy. Fair.
So yes, you can see us next tomorrow night on Blown Off stream. I think we'll be playing some Among Us. I think I'm hosting, and I can only host Among Us, so yeah, sorry if people don't like the game. It's all we can do. But yeah, we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna try to convince everyone to maybe do the shot for the donate thing again because, well, I mean, I like drinking for a good cause.
Last weekend. It went great last weekend.
Yeah, Zach, I think is still feeling the effects of last week. But before we go, just to give another shout out to what Love Wrestling is doing in this month, we are going to donate at .tiltify.com facebook.com at Love Wrestling CA/Trevor Project. That is the main goal, the end goal. We want to help a good cause. We want to help you spread the word to help a good cause. Awareness. We also want to make sure that you go to ratethispodcast.com/Love Wrestling CA and help us. Just become the top podcast in all the world. It'd be neat. In the words of Spencer Love, it would be neat. I really didn't ever think I'd say that freaking word on this thing.
I won't tell him.
He'll know. Twitch.tv/Love Wrestling CA. If you're watching us on Facebook Live or the YouTube, yes, we do have a Twitch. We want to become just bigger on Twitch. So make sure you give us a follow and a like, just like on youtube.com/Love Wrestling CA. LoveWrestling.ca/shop. We like to sell our stuff. It's just human. I mean, who doesn't like to have a business and sell some merchandise? It's just organic. Shirts, mugs, masks. Unfortunately, this is not up for sale. I own the only one right now.
You got your picks ready for Sunday?
You have to tune in to Sunday on the POS show, live at Beercade YEG. That is Edmonton for the people who do not live in Alberta or Edmonton or Canada, or just, might be living underneath that rock, we have said before. But we also want to give a thank you to RK Athletics, our sponsor, who do just amazing work, Rich. And make sure that you go to Rich King's Facebook and Rich Hill's Facebook and help him. Yeah, and just help him get on the cover of fitness and our muscle and fitness. I think that is something he's trying to do. So please go out and help him, because that would be fantastic. I know I won't hear the end of it, but it would be fantastic. The guy's also ripped. He's shredded. He has
I know. I saw a picture of him for the first time the other day, and I'm like, holy Christ, this is the guy who does our promotional stuff?
That guy has as many abs as I have entries on the PWI Top 500. Yes, the answer is 6 people. Kind of put myself over while I'm putting somebody else over. So with that being said, that concludes SmackDown. That concludes tonight's edition of Love Reacts. Ed, where can the people find you on the social media?
You can find me on social media at edfries12584 on Twitter. You can also more often find me on Twitch in Tom Colleyhue's chat rooms as I moderate his chat streams. And I'm also part of his NXT team for whenever we do an NXT show. And that's twitch.com/Tom Colleyhue.
Yeah, and you can follow me at the Twitter at Chris Parrish, the Instagram at Chris.Parrish, on the Twitch, which I'm going to always say eventually I will stream at the Chris Parrish. And make sure you go to lovewrestling.ca for all of your content. It's more updated than I am. I apologize. The internet is just smarter than me. What can I say? There's smartphones. There's only one. Chris Parrish, and I'm sorry you're stuck with this example of it. But with that being said, we wish you a great night. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time at Love Wrestling. Thank you. Goodbye.